my lab at IISc has many opportunities in terms. We have collaborations from universities and professors all over in uh, RWTH, Aachen, Penn State, MIT, and all. So that wise I already got to work with some collaborators from all those universities, and I had opportunities all. And moreover, I was working on a problem, so I developed a method during my masters, and now I'm just extending it to look into pollutant formations and everything. So in that way, it's like continuation of my work. And also there is a chance that since I'm accustomed to this environment and everything, my lab and everything, so it's like, and it's not that I'm not getting opportunities by being here, because I'm working with collaborators from all around the world. So yeah, so that's why I decided to stay at IISc only.
Well, thank you, Anindya. And I must say, it's really modest of you to say that you were over ambitious, or you did not have enough research
Yeah.
experience. So it's like we all have seen your track record, and we
No,
were all
it's not
blown
like
away.
that. The CGPA is not the only thing. Yeah.
Not just CGPA, but you definitely had very good research experience, and where you are right now, well, we all
Yeah, yeah.
really look up to you. So thank you, Anindya. Okay, let's I just noticed Ochinto Mukhopadhyay sir has joined. So good evening, sir, and thank you for joining us today.
Good evening.
And good evening,
Good
sir.
evening, Anindya.
Good
Good
evening, sir.
evening, Abhyuday. Nice to hear you after a long time.
So would you like to share a few words with your old students?
No, you just carry on. I'm enjoying listening.
Okay, sir, thank you. Okay, so we can come to internships now. And there's this craze recently about internships, and I'm sure juniors have also pinged you guys up maybe for like insights into this. So my question is to Abhyuday. You had two internships. In your second year, you interned at IIT Kanpur, and for the following year, you went to McGill University in Canada for your Mitacs internship. So you have experienced both worlds. You have done an internship here, and you have also done a foreign internship. So could you please walk us through your application process briefly for both, and maybe tell us the differences you found in your experiences in both?
Okay, sure. Yeah, well, first of all, the IIT Kanpur internship was actually, I directly approached the professor there. I'd mailed him, and he just asked for an LOR from one of my professors at JU. That is about it. And well, there are other programs as well if you want to intern in India. So there's one fellowship called the Indian Academy of Sciences Summer Research Fellowship, which Anindya was talking about. There's also JNCASR Summer Research Fellowship, and some IITs have their own specific programs like IIT Roorkee and IIT Kanpur. So if you're interested in doing internships, you should definitely look into those. My program, well, my internship at IIT Kanpur was unfunded. This is through direct application. Whereas the Mitacs internship was again through process where I had to submit a CV, a letter of recommendation, and yeah, some background and research interests. And also they had like a list of projects on offer, so you could put projects in order of preference according to your choices. And then they do a matching process with the professors. So it's kind of a long process, but yeah, you just need a CV and a letter of recommendation basically. In terms of experience, I'd say fundamentally the experiences I'd say were the same, because as an intern, you're like expected to contribute to like a small part of a larger project. So in both internships, I was working under a PhD student, and in both cases, I found them very helpful. And well, the PhD usually interacts directly with the professor, and well, professor was kind enough to accommodate me as well in both cases in their meetings. Other than that, yeah, research experiences as an intern are, I'd say, pretty similar. You're very new to things like reading research papers or trying to use software. In both cases, you have to learn from scratch, and I had to learn from scratch and build some work and background. Yeah, and that's about it.
Thank you, Abhyuday. This is really insightful to us and our juniors, because there has been recently this craze for foreign internships as well. But I'm so glad you shared that they are essentially the same, fundamentally the same. So yeah, I hope my juniors heard it too. So thank you again. And about the internships, Anindya, you did an internship at IISc again from the Indian Academy of Sciences fellowship program. So could you tell us about your application process a bit and your experience there?
Yeah. So as far as I remember, you like the application, you have to fill your details. You need, I guess, one letter of recommendation, and you have to just give a brief abstract of your research interest, because obviously in UG you don't know particularly what you want to work on, right? And how I think how the process works in for IAS, like the professors who want to take intern, they also register, and the committee, some reading the research interest, map the professors with the individual students. Okay, so I got into a lab, computational lab in mechanical engineering department at ISC. Okay, so I wanted to work on multi-phase flows because their lab was developing codes on multi-phase flow simulations, everything. But when I joined in, there were like other interns who weren't. So my professor gave me to work on this thing on biomechanics, like collective cell migration. Yeah, so the thing was new to me, but like it was interesting because first time I was looking at like an open source code, like modifying the code. So he gave me a code that was a CFD code for smoothen particle hydrodynamics, and that was I had to make changes to simulate cell motion. So yeah, things were new to me, but like certain ideas were like where some ideas of fluid mechanics are needed. But what was more interesting was I got to run this got my first exposure to high performance computing, running on a parallel computing, large number of cores and everything. And like I would say I was that fairly good at programming, so my that skills were also put to use. So overall it was a pretty good experience. So though it was like sort of different from but the thing was like I got introduced to this high performance computing, which is sort of also what I'm doing now. So in that way it was really helpful. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Anindya. I also wanted to ask, I had noticed this, that both of you, whatever undergraduate research you guys had, it did not exactly align with what you pursued later on. So a lot of people have this confusion that right now, if I do a project on this, will I be able to go for aerospace, or will I be able to go for maybe additive manufacturing or something, which is a little different, but yeah, in the broader area. So I would like either of you to take this question and from your own experience share something.
I will go ahead. Okay. Yeah, so in that way, as Abu that pointed out, when UG you don't know what you want to work on really, and there are different like diverse areas. Okay, so in my case, or also in Abu Dhabi, you will see like I continued working in computation, he continued with experiments. So that part is common. So we got, so that experience helped in our higher studies part. But yeah, like it's very difficult to be sure of anything at UG. So, and also when wherever you go for internship, you won't have any particular research idea that so you have to work on like what the lab is working on, or the yeah. That's the thing. Abu, you can take over.
Yeah, like Anindya said, like it's very I've seen very few people who are like very sure of what they want to do during UG. Actually, nobody I know has been very sure.
Yeah.
So the thing is, if you like a broad area, like let's say fluid mechanics, then you can do a variety of stuff in that broad area. You can do microfluidics, you can do, let's say, aerodynamics, you can, and don't be afraid of exploring that area during your undergrad years, because you are supposed to have a broad experience as an undergraduate. And yes, exactly.
So now I wanted to give my example of my batchmate Orpon. So he did a lot of stuff in basically fluid dynamics experiment during his UG. He also wanted to work on like fluid dynamics only when he's in Minnesota now. But he rather moved to everything in controls and robotics part. So it's not that you have to, but it's like when you are applying abroad or anything. So if you have a research experience, that's really counts.
Yes. So any research experience counts basically. You just have to go and get experience, and you can, as you work, you get an idea of what you want to do, what you like.
Yeah, right.
Okay, thank you. That is very reassuring. Thank you, Anindya Datta. Okay, so coming to the application process, Abhyuday, I would like you to take this. How did you shortlist schools, and why did you choose Europe over US or Canada? And again, another question, why did you choose the Netherlands in Europe and not Germany, which is a very popular choice? Everybody just talks about Germany when they come to mechanical. So, and also maybe discuss a little about the scholarship options. I'm sorry if that's a lot of questions. Please.
One by one. So first of all, shortlisting process is like, again, very personal. So I relied on talking to my seniors. Anindya Datta was, of course, one of the seniors, and Orpunda, as he mentioned. So yeah, I looked at schools they had applied to, and then I looked into what they were working on, if I found anything interesting, and then I tried applying across, like, well, US, Canada, Europe, even Singapore. Because again, all of these countries have very different funding structures, and I was not sure where I'd end up. And I was not very particular about where I wanted to end up. Let me talk about funding, because essentially in the US, if you're really sure about doing research, like doing a PhD, then it's advisable to go for an integrated MS PhD program directly after your undergraduate, because then you ensure that you have funding throughout your study time abroad. And in fact, you can even just, end the program with a master's degree if you don't want to go ahead with a PhD. That's a very nice option. Canada does not have that kind of structure. But they do have funded masters. So you either apply to but as an undergraduate, you can only apply to a master's, and that is also funded if you want to do a master's by research. Whereas in Europe, funding is very different, because essentially there's no funding for international. It's just a few scholars. What I mean by funding is that you get a stipend from the professor's research fund in the US and Canada. Whereas in Europe, it's different. They don't give you any stipend as a master's student to do research. Instead, there are very few scholarships available for international students, because the fees is, again, very high as an international student. Coming over to why I went for Europe, simply because they gave me funding, and I got offered this scholarship by TU Delft. I had a couple of admits from the US as well, but I did not, in masters, I didn't apply for an integrated MS PhD. Again, I was like unsure of whether I should be pursuing a PhD directly after my master's or UG. So, when I got the scholarship from TU Delft, I just didn't pursue funding options any further. And to be honest, I was not very well aware of how different the structures of these courses are in US and Europe, because they are a little different. That was not a big concern for me. So yeah, funding was the main reason why I chose Europe. And coming to Netherlands versus the other countries, I did not consider Germany because of the language barrier. If you want to pursue a course like a research-focused master's in Germany, you usually have to do most of the coursework in German, they do have a few fully English taught master's programs, but they are usually very, inclined towards the industry and applied sciences rather than core research. That's why I did not consider, because I didn't want to learn German. And well, in Netherlands, it's English taught. It's very easy to interact, even in day-to-day life. So it seemed like a good choice.
So you did not face the language barrier in Netherlands at all?
Virtually no. Like, yeah, except for the signs, they're in Dutch, but nowadays you can just use Google Lens. But yeah, in speaking to even people on the street, it's not a big problem. I think in Germany it's a little bit of a problem, depending on where you are exactly. Did I miss out on any questions?
No. I'm sorry for piling up so many questions. I'll go one by one now. Okay, so Anindya, thank you Abhyuday for sharing this. And Anindya, you prepared for GATE, and you told us why IISc was your first choice, because it was familiar to you. You had worked there, and obviously it is one of the top institutes. So when do you think is the optimum time for start preparing for GATE?
Okay, I don't think I'm the right person to answer this because I gave a very little time for GATE preparation. But one thing is there, like what I have seen, like in JU, how the courses are structured. So most of like 90 to 95% of material what is in the GATE syllabus is covered in the courses. Okay, so like some people like in the third or fourth year, like even my batchmates I have seen, they used to go to some GATE preparation coaching institutes to prepare for GATE. I didn't do that, so I think but ideal, I guess, to starting before 1.5 years would be ideal to like seamlessly go through the process, and like because we'll also have the normal curriculum going on at JU. So to keeping balance, and also in final year you have projects. So balancing that, like starting like from maybe before 1.5 to 2 years, like because after that the end of second year, like majority of the like basic subjects will be done like curriculum, right? So that way.
So yes, coincidentally, we had the GATE exam, mechanical GATE exam yesterday.
Oh yeah.
So a lot of UG3 and UG4, a lot of people from UG3 also took it, as far as I know.
Okay.
And so what would you recommend to them right now? Because in UG3, GATE is pretty intimidating because you don't know half of
exactly
what
right. But
to
like
be.
I guess some like people give it for just to get an experience or flavor of it, just get experience, like, and they can all take the exam even next year as well. But it's good to take it, like, but for the final year I should suggest like go prepare well and then go. That's the thing. Don't want to guys again like spend like next 1 year to preparing from GATE just itself. You want to like go for PSUs and everything, then it makes sense. But if you want to go for higher studies and everything, so suggest, because as I said, like the how JUME curriculum is structured, most of the topics is covered. So if you attend the classes and just properly, so it will help. And then like you can get materials from the net anyways these days, like for extra topics and all to solve questions and everything. And so you can and like I guess now there are also like GATE coaching institutes give this online, you can just give the subscribe to their online tests and take them to prepare.
So you suggest that we should give a good 1 or 1.5 years prep to GATE. Okay, thank you so much. And okay, again, when we are talking about exams, so let's also come to GRE. So Abhyuday, you prepped for the GRE, and could you also share with us that what time is the best to start preparing and how you should go about it?
Okay, GRE is, well, not a technical exam unlike GATE, so The only challenging part in the GRE is the English, actually. But also you have to be aware of what you as an engineering student are expected, how you're expected to score in a GRE exam. So English, of course, carries less weightage when you're applying to in STEM fields. But nonetheless, English requires a decent amount of preparation, no matter your level. So I'd say like 2 to 3 months of regular preparation, like daily, if you give 1 or 2 hours, that's kind of enough. And there are enough materials available online for free. There are paid courses as well, not too expensive, which you can take. Math part of the GRE is, well, it's like class 10 level from Indian education standards. Yeah, it's about just practice a bit, refresh your concepts, and just focus on getting the timing and accuracy better. So 2 to 3 months is ideal. Anything more than that is like overkill. It won't improve you too much. And again, GRE is like you can take it anytime you want. So one of my batchmates, Shambhuddho, he went for it in the third year, first sem, I think. So that was really good thinking, actually. Just get it over with as quickly as you can because it doesn't require too much preparation. I took it in my fourth year in first sem in the middle of, I had my placement interviews a couple of days later after the GRE. So that's not ideal. So I'd say third year, second sem, just get it over with if you want to take it.
Okay, so 2 to 3 months of prep is sufficient. And would you recommend any materials, maybe just name throughout one or two names?
It's all over the internet, but yeah, I mainly use the official materials. But the problem is they give you a very good idea of the structure and the expected questions, but they don't have a lot of questions.
Yeah.
So to practice, you should probably, I used, what was it? 5 pound? Yeah, something.
Yeah, there's a 5 pound book.
Manhattan Prep 5 pound. It's a huge book with a lot of practice questions. You can basically pick any material you want. They're also available online freely. It's more or less the same.
Okay, you also took the IELTS and TOEFL exams. Like usually students take one, but you took both. So you can give us a very good example of how, like, you can tell us your experience in both the exams, and also which countries prefer which exam.
Okay, so well, the GRE is like the objective of the GRE is different, and well, IELTS or TOEFL, they just test your very basic English language skills. So both exams have like let's say 4 sections: reading, writing, speaking, and listening. And levels are the same. I had to take both of them because when I was applying for my master's, I'd taken TOEFL. But when I was applying for my Ph.D. 2 years later, my TOEFL scores had expired. So that's a problem with these exams. I decided to take IELTS this time. The only difference between the exams is this speaking section, because in TOEFL, the entire exam is computer based. So even the speaking part is like you just speak into a microphone, it records, and then someone evaluates it. But in IELTS, listening, reading, and writing are given on a computer. But the speaking is a separate session, 10 minutes or so, where you have to sit with an examiner face to face. And yeah, they just ask you basic stuff just to gauge how well you can communicate in very basic English. Again, the levels are the same. And regarding acceptance of these exams, depending on countries, both are acceptable everywhere. So I think TOEFL, most people choose TOEFL because most people apply to the US mainly. But even in the US, they accept IELTS, and whatever score you get in either is like, well, it won't matter because the levels are very much the same.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Abhyuday. So enough about exams. Let's lighten up a bit by maybe talking about, I'll ask this to Anindya. that how is your life at IISc, and well, during your masters especially, how heavy was the coursework and your thesis work, and well, what was the work-life balance exactly for somebody pursuing higher studies in India?
Yeah, so yeah, I will want to say that work-life balance is very important, because in once you want to go to grad life or research, like some, because you know what things won't work out, what things there are some things are there. So it's important when you choose a research supervisor or a particular field, just give some time, give some time and thought into that. Like talk to, like I think, like you talk to all the supervisors who are taking professors who are taking students, like what projects or research projects they have in mind, or if you have some idea, just convey it to them. And then also talk to the current students of that professors to get an idea what they are doing in the lab, because in work life balance is important. So, and coursework, like once you start, like I will say that first semester was very heavy, because like once you go from JU to a grad school, it's like a step jump, because in the course, because like you are getting assignments every 2 weeks, and there are quizzes, mini projects, some literature survey, and it will and the midterm tests and everything, they are very really like very conceptual and everything. So yeah, so the first 1.5, like for me, since I was doing MTech research, so I did, I guess, 6 courses in this thing. Like it's depending also MTech research, the course work is like, so you have to take coursework depending on how you like relevant to your research area, their thesis work. Okay.
So you get to choose your own courses, or are
Yeah,
they
MTech research.
mandatory?
Yeah, MTech research. You get to choose your like mathematics course is compulsory. Other than that, you have to choose your courses like in consultation with your supervisor what you want to do and everything. So let's say like I had already done combustion in my UG, so I could take an advanced course on combustion. Okay. So like so that was my benefit, because like I could start off with my thesis work really early. Even in the first semester, I started working on the simulations and modeling part. Okay, so like sometimes that's why I was saying MTech research can take sometimes long, because if you like, some professor will say just focus on research work, you might not have the relevant info, like knowledge about the field. So that's like first semester mainly goes into research, like sorry, the courses only. Then you start the research work and like some and take few courses as and when you need. Yeah. And they are like, yeah, so like I had good work life balance, because my advisor was not very strict about like weekdays I used to go to lab, and like weekends I could roam around the campus or go out somewhere on short trip, because I'm into photography, I like travel a lot, so I didn't have face any issue with my supervisor with that. I could like, I know, like especially in like science departments, there's the professors are very strict about the like timings in lab and everything. So keep that in mind, like what before choosing the supervisor and project. So just be aware of that, like what you are getting into.
So your work-life balance basically depends more on the supervisor and your project rather than the institute or
Yeah,
where you.
yeah, obviously that's there.
Yeah, I'm so glad you had good work-life balance, because I saw your pictures on social media and you could like go to road trips, and you could
Yeah,
pursue your passion for photography, and it's really great to see,
yeah,
because we have this idea that Indian profs can really weigh down on you and
yeah,
not give you any
yeah,
time to catch your breath.
that is true for like many like labs in IISc also, but yeah, it's not the case. So yeah, so I got lucky in that. So
So you got lucky. Okay, thank you, Anindya. I would again draw parallel and ask the same question to Abhyuday, that, and of course you had a little bit more of a shock and a jump after you went to TU Delft for your masters because of the culture shock as well. So tell us about your life there and how challenging the courses were, and like how you took it all while adjusting to a new country. So please.
Before coming to the question, your gate prep question reminded me of which was my second day in JU, probably first year, just the second day of classes. And Anindya and his friends visited my class. So
Yeah.
I asked Anindya, have you started preparing for GRE already?
Yeah, he was like, he was in first year. I went to meet the juniors on the first year. It was second day, and Abhyuday asked how to prepare for GRE.
So yeah, and that's always on the mind of fresh students. Yeah, anyway, coming to the question. Yeah,
So
of
I
course.
hope you're actually prepared for GRE for 2 or 3 months, or I hope you're not lying to us.
No, I really didn't start preparing it because Anindya told me the same thing, that you can just relax. You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Anindya Datta. He would have started
Yeah,
preparing right from
I
his
told him that you have
second day.
just come to JU and like
Just-
after 2 years of this active growth, and just enjoy the life here first for the first 1 or 2 years. Then you can think about all this.
Very good advice, thank you. But yeah,
Please go on. Yeah.
so about moving to a new country, a culture shock is always there, and you know many people at the start, so you are kind of
Abhyuday, I am
anxious.
so sorry to interrupt. Could you hold the microphone closer to your
Of course.
mouth a little?
Sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
So yeah, culture shock is of course a part of moving to a new place, and well, there's no way to avoid it. You just have to. The more time you spend there, the more you get used to it. In terms of the coursework, that was also kind of a shock because the European system is very like heavy on coursework during your first year. So I had to do and again, TU Delft had a quarter system. So instead of semesters, we had half semesters and evaluation at the end of each half semester. So it was very intense and very
So
hectic.
4 final exams a year.
4 final exams in your first year. And even the courses lasted a quarter. So you had just 6 weeks of lectures and your course is done. It was intense. It was a very new thing, but like everyone else is in the same position. Everyone else is facing the same shock. So we learned to collaborate and work together. And well, by the end of my first quarter, I was kind of used to it. In terms of work-life balance, again, as a master's student, you don't have much work-life balance, at least in your first year, because the coursework being so intense. So we used to work on weekdays as well. And in the European system, you're not compelled to start your thesis work or research work immediately. So you can take your time, do the courses, get a feel of what you want to do, and then choose your thesis topic when you start your second year. So by the time thesis is more like just like Anindya was mentioning, you can work the designated hours in your lab on weekdays, and weekends you can enjoy. That is also, of course, supervisor dependent, but most of the people I knew there, they didn't have any problems with supervisors, because again, the supervisors there, they also take their weekends very seriously. So that was a nice thing. So yeah, except for the first year is pretty hectic with the culture shock and all, and coursework is very heavy. But once you start your thesis, it's a lot more manageable. PhDs are also like, they work a job basically. So work on weekdays and weekends you're free mostly. So yeah, work-life balance is like very Europeans, I'd say, are very particular about it. So I haven't heard of any supervisors forcing their students to work weekends because they themselves don't work weekends. That's the next thing.
So yeah, weekends exist in Europe. That's good to know. So Abhyuday, what would you like? How do you feel about the job opportunities in Europe? Maybe after an MS, if somebody does not want to go for a PhD, then can they have a job there, or maybe in any other EU country if they want to?
Yeah, absolutely. If you ask me to compare between the US or Europe, it will be a tricky thing to answer. But in general, from what I've seen, everyone who wants to do a job among my circle at TU, they got jobs, and it's even internationals, except for the space agency. I think you can get in anywhere. There are a lot of startups. There are a lot of legacy companies in mechanical and aerospace engineering. Yes, there definitely are plenty of job opportunities, but the difference is that you don't have the comfort of a placement system anywhere outside of India. So if you want to get a job, then you have to build your own network. There are plenty of opportunities for that. You get career fairs, you get to talk to people through your research, through your thesis, and you also get to do an internship as part of your master's. So that's a good chance to, get acquainted with people in the industry. And so yeah, you have to put in a lot of effort just to realize what kind of opportunities are available. So nobody's going to come to the campus and offer jobs. You have to go out and look for them. But certainly there are a lot of jobs, and I don't really know how recession and all is affecting things right now. But yeah, I see all my friends doing jobs who wanted to do jobs. So,
okay. So to get a job, you just have to network there. And there is not going to be a cell where people come and offer the job to you.
Nope. There are only going to be career fairs and LinkedIn at your disposal.
But still, you say that prospects are really good if you put in the effort, right?
Yes. Okay. Absolutely.
Thank you, Abhyuday. Okay. So next to Anindya again. So Anindya, Anindya was awarded the best thesis. He was awarded a medal for the best thesis during his masters from his batch. So Anindya, how did you know? Because at the end of undergraduate years, they are all clueless, as you also had mentioned. So how did you pick a project? Like, did it just appeal to you, or did you also look at the supervisor and the lab? And please walk us through this.
Yeah, that as I was saying, like, so how in IISc, how this all like master projects or PhD or MTech research thesis allocation goes, like, so all you can have one interaction with the professor. Okay, so and talk to them, like what are their expectations and what are they working on, what ideas or projects that they have in mind. Okay, so but as I said, at the end of UG, I was more or less sure that I want to stay in the field of computation, CFD, either just fluid or combustion related this thing. So yeah, so and I had got there in the propulsion stream in aerospace engineering. So I talked to the professors and all. Then how the process goes, like then the professors decide who they like. We can give preferences, professors will also give preferences, and then there is a mapping, and this is how the process goes in IISc. Okay, like for both like research projects, like any project allocation. Okay, yeah, so then like, so it was I got, so that was a project on developing an LES model for combustion. So yeah, so our lab has this in-house code, so I had to make changes to that and add our level modeling parts, and also, and I had some basic idea of CFD. I did in Fluent and OpenFOAM. So, and like I had some this experience with coding and all from my summer internship from mechanical engineering department. So all those helped. So I could, and also I had already had background in combustion. So that's why I could pick up things really well quickly and start getting on the project. So that's why I was able to like finish it within 2 years actually. So
okay.
yeah.
So Anindya, you said you were really proficient in coding by the time you got into this. So this is also a question that very frequently comes up for people going into core research, that do I really need coding? How much coding do I need?
Yeah.
So
this I tell to every my juniors or like whoever I know who is going into engineering. Like I say, whichever field you are going, at least you should know some basic coding. Like, because it can be any language, but like you should have the idea of algorithms and how to approach a problem. That's the thing. Like, and programming language, that is basically syntax and everything that you can learn with time depending on this thing. But yeah, coding, having a basic knowledge of coding is very important, even if you are in code. So because go in industry, you might require it and everything. So so in UG time, first second years, you could leave if you haven't done anything in coding during your school days, should invest some time. At least you can learn Python or in that thing. Python or MATLAB is not very difficult, but you can learn Python and everything, because that is, if you want to, let's say now there's this bloom of AI and machine learning thing. I am also using some data-driven kind of more thing in my research. So that's, and Python has the different libraries for, and it's very easy to use. So like I will suggest like something like Python or any programming language. If you know, it's beneficial. Yeah. Like irrespective of which engineering stream you are studying.
Okay.
Yeah.
So would you recommend again, learning also AI, ML, these things? Do you recommend
No,
learning them from scratch during your undergraduate years, or do you
no,
just learn it as and when required?
no. AI and ML, that's really a very mathematical and very intensive. So it's difficult to get to know these things. Like you can, if you are really interested, you can take different courses all available in this online. You can take it, but it's up to your interest. It's not necessary that you have to learn. But what I'm saying is that having a base knowledge of a coding language is important. You might know when you will need it. Because like anything, like even if you are doing experiments, let's say you need to process some data or do some analysis on that, you eventually need some sort of coding, right?
Okay. Thank you, Anindya. So I would also like to ask Abhyuday the importance and like how extensively do you need coding? Because your field is experimental. Anindya's field is entirely computational, but you work in experimental aerodynamics. So is it as necessary as, like, say, in computational areas?
Uh, well, like Anindya said, it's again important to have a knowledge of coding irrespective of what you want to do. The main difference I'd point out is, well, suppose like Anindya mentioned data-driven methods that he's using in his research. And even in experiments these days, a lot of data-driven techniques are being used to, form low-order models of very complex physical systems, or well, make sense of your experimental readings. So yeah, coding can't, downplay the importance of coding in research or jobs in core sector anyway. Yeah, coding is essentially everywhere. So I
So
really
yeah,
suggest.
whichever domain you choose, you will need to know coding. So this is also really insightful. And also, like, we are talking about coding, so I'll also talk about these commercial CFD softwares, which a lot of undergraduate students are using, but which is kind of a black box, right? ANSYS Fluent or COMSOL or such similar softwares. So would you recommend this, like some student who is getting started with research in CFD, would you recommend such a commercial software, or would you recommend them to, like, learn to code the system from scratch, maybe in MATLAB or Python? So what would you recommend? Either of you can take this question.
No, it's good. It's a good point to start with doing things with Fluent and all. Because like coding up the entire thing, that might be difficult to start with. But like once you know coding, you can just like see like with simple equation. I'm not saying you have to code up the entire equation for all the equations for fluid flow, but like simple like a linear advection equation, you can start with that. Like if you really want to see how the numerics work. But yeah, for someone getting to understand CFD, Fluent and COMSOL is a good place, because even if it's a black box, but like you don't know what are the numerical methods that going to play. But what you get to know is that how to, like in CFD, meshing is very important. Like where you add points in the domain to get a correct solution. Like if I say in a pipe flow, I guess you had here I don't like have an idea of pipe flow. So like like you need to add more points which are very defined near the wall region, so that we can there, because there is a strong steep velocity gradient there. In the core, you can have a very coarse mesh, like that. These sort of ideas you can get from like doing simulation in Fluent, because at least from the meshing point of view. Then like if you want like really going into some like some method developing or anything, then you can just look like develop your skills in that. Yeah. But Fluent and is a good place to start with. And now I think many research groups in India use OpenFOAM also. That's an open source software, and then that's also good. There are different models, and you also can, but that also requires coding. You need to know C++ for that. So that's why I was saying that let's some basic idea of coding you should have, like right? You don't know when you will need it.
Okay, thank you, Anindya Datta. Abhyuday Datta, if you have any views on this, please do share.
Well, yeah, of course, I'd agree with what Anindya Datta said, because initially it's very difficult to get a hang of how the maths is working in solving those equations. So you can just try to get a physical feel of, well, what are the steps in running a CFD simulation, and for that, ANSYS and console or any tool is very, very handy. And once you start to get deep, then you can learn more about how the solver works, and then you can try coding your own simple things like 1D systems or something. And that's how you basically develop intuition for CFD.
Yeah, thank you. So there used to be this myth that these are like black boxes and you don't immediately go into them. You should learn to start coding from scratch. But thank you for telling us this, that we can also learn so much from these commercial softwares, how to solve particular problems and impose boundary conditions and everything. So thank you again. So we will come to wrapping up this session really soon. I just have one last very general question, and that is completely for our audience. So what advice would you give to somebody who is a budding researcher, who is an undergraduate and is very usually very lost, that where do I go from here, what do I do, where do I apply, what skills do I learn? So if you could give some concrete advice to such students in usually UG2 or UG3, even UG4, I might be one of them. So please, Anindya Datta, please.
Okay, so I think like some of the points I've already told, so I will just summarize. So yeah, so first, like if you really want to go into research areas and higher studies, go into research. So first, like at the end of second or third year, you have to do go for these internships and everything that will give you a flavor of the things, how things go in a research lab, how things work, and what are the difficulties you face and everything. That then you will know that whether you want to go for that or not, you want to just go for a job. And then you have to decide what you want, where you want to pursue research, if you want to do it in India.
Anindya Datta, I'm sorry, your voice is breaking.
Is it okay now? It's the internet connection. Okay. Yeah, so and if you want to do higher studies in India, you have to take GATE exam. That's there, and for in Europe or in the States or Canada, you have to take those are not technical exams, those are GRD, TOEFL and IELTS. Abhyuday can add to this whatever else he has in mind.
Yeah, like Anindya Datta said, it's Kingshuk has a question for Anindya Datta.
So that
after this, Kingshuk, could you hold it?
Yes, no problem.
So yeah, just whatever Anindya Datta said, that be on the lookout for. Even if you're on the fence about going for higher studies immediately, it's always better to do a research internship, because it doesn't harm your chances of getting a job in the industry.
Yeah, right.
And if you want to go for a research, then it's of course very helpful. And don't be worried about the label of where you're doing that internship, because it hardly matters. Really, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Just what matters is how much and what you learn, after going there. It's all about your effort really, and topic and the supervisor and the institute hardly matters when it comes to admission.
Yeah. And also, I guess in our time we had to do 2 UG projects. Is it the same now, or like?
Sir, could you again repeat?
No, means like in our time we had to do 2 projects in our UG. Is the curriculum same now, or it has changed?
Oh yes, but it's a little different. You had to do 2 projects throughout your final year, I think.
Yeah, right.
Through 2 sems. So we have a minor project in our 3rd year, 2nd sem, and we have a major project throughout our final year.
Yeah,
so,
that's good actually, because you can do something significant over that 1 year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
so that's also one place you can just explore what you want to do and gain some experience, like whether you want to pursue in that direction further.
And don't be afraid of exploring basically, because UG you can do a variety of stuff and then decide what you want to do later on. It doesn't matter what exactly you do. The experience and the learning, that's what matters. And if you think of practical stuff like software, you learn it anyway when you do internships and projects.
Yeah, and whenever you go to a grad school, you will find that there are many other research areas which you might not have explored. So obviously you can go there and just be like, there's a telling out my batchmate, or he thought he will be doing in fluids, but he's in controls and robotics now. So so whenever you go to some other place, it's like different area, different place, different new ideas.
So okay, thank you, Anindya, Abhyuday. So it really does not matter how you start off. It matters how consistent you are, and it'll just all open up. The road will just open up. It's really an enlightening session, and thank you again. So I'd like to open the panel for the audience. Kingshuk, could you could ask your question and take some questions from the audience as well.
আচ্ছা অনিন্দা দা, আমার একটা প্রশ্ন ছিল যে তোমার মানে তুমি তোমার পিএইচডি
sorry for interrupting.
Yes. No vernacular.
Not everyone.
No vernacular. Okay. No problem. So Anindya da, you have no problem. So Anindya da, you have been awarded with the PMRF scholarship, I guess. But yes. So I want to know, like, what was like, what are the requisites for actually obtaining a PMRF scholarship? Means if I want to do it at my MTech or at my PhD level. So if you could throw light on that matter.
Yeah. So it's offered for PhD students only. First of all, you have to get admitted to one of these PMRF institutions, like all the IITs, IISc, and there are some ISHRAE and all are like science field, so that's not of relevance to us. So IITs and IISc, so they provide this PMRF. First you have to get admitted to that, and since like for those who are going from IITs, they have an advantage. They can directly apply in their first year itself. If you are going for direct PG after your bachelor's, okay. But let's say I will talk in context of like JU students only. So if you go for, let's say, direct PhD after your UG, so you will get you can apply after, I guess, for first semester. Okay, like you can okay, so just a second. You can apply till the end of 2nd year if you are going for direct PhD after your UG. Okay. So like how, so it depends on the institution whether they will allow you to apply or not. But obviously because depending on the number of seats and obviously to accommodate the other students, but for sure you will be able to apply at the end of your 2nd year, 2nd sem. Okay, that time. So what they see is that time is your CGPA has to be higher than 8.5. Okay, then you have to submit a research proposal, what you want to work on. That matters a lot. If it's like since this is in India, it has to also has some significance to Indian research scenario, or that thing. If that is one thing that helps a lot. And then there is this recommendation. So these are the 3 things. Research, and also you have to write an SOP, statement of purpose. Okay. like what are your plans, what you want to do, why you want this, something like that. So these are the 4 things you need. Yeah. Yeah. So, and if you are going after MTech, let's say you do an MTech in some IITs or IISc, then you can then you, let's say, join an institution, IITs or IISc, for PhD. Then you can apply in your first semester itself. So the
Okay.
criteria is there. If in your MTech first semester you should have taken 4 courses and your CGPA should be greater than 8.5. That is the criteria to apply. But
Acha,
yeah,
acha.
yeah. So then you will get, let's say, what is called a direct. What they use 2 terms: direct entry and lateral entry. So direct entry is like you start your PhD, and from the first day itself you are getting the stipend. For me, it was like I started getting it from the second year. I was lateral entry. So for me, what happened, since I was COVID batch, and in my PhD started in October, and like all other IITs have already started their session that time, so I couldn't apply for direct like direct entry PMRF that time. So I had to go through this lateral means. So mine started at the from second year. Yeah. So I applied at the So I applied at the end of first year, second sem, and from second year I started getting the PMRF fellowship.
Okay.
And you
Thank you,
can, if
Dada.
you want to get the details, you can visit the PMRF website. So that is, everything is listed down, eligibility and everything, what are the criteria. And one thing is that since you are getting a much higher stipend compared to the other PhD students. So you have to, there are 2 annual reviews per year for PMRF students. So one is like an internal, that is not so that is like an committee from your supervisor decides, and the main thing is an external review. So you have to, the external committee has professors from other institutions whom you don't know, so they will evaluate your work and say that how you are performing, whether the fellowship should be continued or not. Yeah. So that thing is there. So it's more
Okay.
rigorous. Yeah. So in normal PhD in India, you don't have to go through this strict review process each year. But if you get a
Acha.
PMRF, you have to go. That is there. Yeah.
Acha, in case if my PMRF gets cancelled due to some reason or the other, does it affect on my other grade card or so something like that? Any relation with regards to that?
I don't think it should affect. It's like if your PMRF gets cancelled, but it's not that they will cancel it immediately. So let's say I have my review. Let's say I have my review in June. Let's give an example. So they say that it's not satisfactory, so they will not cancel it immediately. They will again evaluate your progress next year and then cancel.
Acha,
So
acha,
it's
acha.
like a warning. Okay, like they will not
Okay,
cancel
okay,
immediately.
bhalo.
So I have not don't know anyone whose PMRF got cancelled. But
Acha,
so
acha.
yes, yeah. So it's like they won't be, but their thing is that like eventually, like in 1 year, we'll make significant progress. So it's so, but I don't think it will affect much. Yeah, if and it's ultimately what you will see is your uh, thesis work and what contributions you make and like the papers and everything. That's the final thing.
Okay, okay. Okay, Dada. ঠিক আছে. Thank you.
Okay.
Also, I guess one of my friend Preetham is having one question. So Preetham, you can unmute yourself and you can ask that question to the respective panelist.
Yeah.
Yes, you are.
Pritham, let me interrupt at this stage. I mean, this honors thing is that's a new concept. I mean,
That's very
I mean, what was called honors degree in their time and what's called honors degree in current time, they're entirely different. So I'm not sure whether either of them is really aware of what is the what is the honors scenario. I mean, to just to brief them, I mean, it's like you have to take 20 extra credits to get an honors degree, and that and it's not related to your CGPA. I mean, unlike it was in your time.
So they can take courses from any department they want, or
No. These courses they generally have to take from their own department only.
okay, but they are not like.
Pardon?
No. I'm saying that it's how is it different from the elective courses?
So that's a good question. That's a good question. I mean, that we also have not been able to figure out very satisfactorily till now. But it could be. I mean, that electives are a part of your regular credit requirements. So now, actually, what is happening? AICT has a very strict credit requirement that it should be around 160 credits or something like that for 4-year bachelor's program. And if you want to do I mean, if you do 20 extra credits over and above that, then that would be honors. So there would be some elective courses within that 160 credits. So this will be over and above that. I mean,
okay. So and like and you're saying this is not counted in the final CGPA?
No, it's not. I mean, in JU exam rule doesn't count it in the. I mean, each institute will have its own rule probably, but here it's not counted in your CGPA or merit list or anything. I mean, you just if you complete your extra 20 credits, then you get a different nomenclature for your degree. Say and what was honors in your time, now it's called distinction. That that 75% and all those things. So you can have a first class with distinction and honors. I mean, you can have both or either or that way. I mean, they are in two unrelated things. I mean, technically, you can even have a second class honors degree, which means your overall percentage is below 65%, but you have done 20 extra credits.
Okay. So it's like, let's say I take my electives from thermofluidics and then honors subjects from manufacturing. Let's say it's an
it could be. It could be.
Okay.
It could be.
Okay. Yeah, Pritam, now you can repeat your question once. If you think that you want to also keep your options open and let's say explore that field also, as I was saying, that you are interested, let's say, in fluids, but you also want to have keeping things in manufacturing and all, so you can take the courses because the option is there. So you can take let's say honors subjects. Yeah.
Are there any more questions? Kingshu, please take Shornendu's question.
Shornendu, you can unmute yourself and you can ask that question to the respective panelist. Shornendu.
Hello, Dada. So my question was कि मैंने अभी ये जानता हूँ ना, sorry, MTech research was I came to know today. So I mean, what other universities offer this, and what are the requirements like get rank and all?
So MTech research, I think IIT Madras has, IIT Kanpur has. I'm not sure about other IITs, but
Kharagpur also
has. Yeah, I think most of the IITs will have it, but it's not as in MTech. This it's mostly generally based on your GATE rank. So it's like depend like IISc. I think the MTech GATE rank closes within 70, 80 or 100, something like that. So but in MTech research, you can they allow GATE rank still, I guess, 1,000, 1,200, because the major thing they will say not the gate rank, how you perform in the interview. Like that's the major criteria for selection there.
Okay.
Any other questions?
It's regarding the honors papers, and like they helped you in the in choosing the subjects next in your master's or PhD. I mean, what other impacts did it have in like? Tada,
You're on mute.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So what I understand about the current honors thing in JUME curriculum, that it's not doesn't goes to your mandatory credit requirement, right, in CGPA. But in any grad school, what happens is that you can take courses from, it's like in MTech generally, if you do just MTech, generally some courses are compulsory in the first sem. Then you can take courses from any department or depending on your interest, and that counts to your credits and goes into your CGPA. Okay, so that you choose depending on your interest and how it will, on your research area, how it will help you.
Okay, Dada. Also, one more thing. Does getting published affect in selecting like MTech research and all? It's
No, I don't think they look in, but yeah, if you have a publication, that will help you. So they will ask you more, like in the interview, they will ask you more questions on your research work. Yeah, and in otherwise, in general, it will be like, let's see, if you are going for I'm talking context of aerospace engineering department at IISc. If you go for interview in propulsion or aerodynamics panel, they will ask questions from fluid dynamics, thermodynamics, heat transfer. Maths is important. They will ask question from maths, for sure. But
also
yeah, but they will ask you first, like in which subjects you are comfortable. Not that you first ask start asking something from any other subject you are not comfortable. You can tell them, yeah, that I want you to ask from thermodynamics and fluids, so they will. And or in math, let's say you said differential equation or linear algebra, so they will proceed accordingly. Yeah. But you should be well aware of the concepts in that topics. Yeah.
yes. Also, you took the GATE examination as aerospace engineering, right?
No,
So,
mechanical. If you take in mechanical, you can apply for aerospace, mechanical, and then there are, I guess, in IISc there is a center for nanoscience, interdisciplinary energy. So you can check if you, let's say, target a particular Indian institute, you can check the departments and which GATE exam score they count. Yeah. Like in aerospace, like people come from, as I was saying, from electrical, electronics also, from civil also. So it's like all that, like I had a friend who was an MTech, so he took examination in GATE in civil, and then he was doing MTech in aerospace engineering. So all these things is, yeah. So you can check check the websites and which GATE exam scores they count. Yeah.
okay, Dada, thank you.
Okay, I don't think there are any more questions. So we'll wrap up today's session. Thank you. It was a great session, and we really got to know so much. And I think a lot of myths were busted here. So we have a lot of nice take-home messages. And also, thank you, Ochinta sir, for joining in and providing your insights and
Thank you.
I enjoyed a lot.
Yeah.
Just before signing off, I'd just like to say one thing. I mean, some of you were asking, I mean, what are the requirements and things like that. I mean, one thing that I feel is that if somebody wants to do, I mean, advanced studies, and he or she needs to have an openness of to take up new problems. I mean, it can come I mean, even when you don't expect it. I mean, even at the UG project level, for example, Abhyuday, I mean, both of them actually did one of their projects with me. I mean, that time it was that way only, so they could not do both projects with the same person. Both of them did one of their projects with me, but what Abhyuday did, that was more, I mean, much more of material science than of heat transfer or fluid mechanics, and I don't think that's something he expected when he signed up with me.
Yeah.
So I mean, that is something that routinely happens. I mean, once it happened to me also. I mean, when I went for my postdoctoral research, I mean, even at that advanced level, so it was supposed to be a combustion research, but something like there has to be some work. I mean, so some designing some burners so that the oxygen level is at some optimum levels in an aluminum melting furnace, so that the molten aluminum does not get oxidized. But the problem was that nobody knew how much oxygen oxidizes aluminum to what extent. So so when I started working on it, it started very innocuously, but then when I asked, so how much, what should be the target oxygen level, the answer was, we don't know, you have to find that out. So I spent the next 6 months actually working more on melting of aluminum alloys and their oxidation and chemical kinetics and all those things. It was a hardcore metallurgy. So I mean, that's how it happens very often. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
So we'll wrap up the session today, and it was great having you on board, and thanks on behalf of ISHRAE JU chapter. We look forward to more such interactions soon, and I'm sure it was very insightful to all our juniors and my peers as well. So,
yeah, it was great interacting with you guys after a long time. So yeah, also since Achinda sir was here talking to you after a long time, it was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks to ISHRAE, thanks to Kingshuke and Anvisha for the session.
Okay, thank you and good night.
Yeah, thank you.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night, Dada.
Good night.
Tata.
Bye.